Colts at Jaguars. Kickoff Sunday, October 15th, 1 p.m. Eastern, over under 45.5. Game Overview by Hilo. The biggest injury news from this one is clearly Anthony Richardson, who was placed on injured reserve Wednesday with an AC joint sprain. That is going to cost him at least 4 weeks of his rookie season. Richardson has now finished just one of the 4 games he started this year, missing another with a concussion. Tight end Mo Alie-Cox did not practice Wednesday after suffering a concussion in Week 5. Zay Jones did not practice with a knee injury sustained in Week 5. He appears legitimately questionable to suit up early in the week. Shaquille, Leonard, and Kwity Paye returned to practice Wednesday after missing Week 5 with concussions. Jonathan Taylor immediately returned to the lineup in Week 5 after inking a 3-year extension with the Colts and should continue to see his snap rate and opportunity share increase with time. How Indianapolis will try to win. Indianapolis remains top 5 in the league in pace of play, 26.2 seconds per play, but has fallen to bottom 5 in pass rate over expectation. The now 3-2 Colts played the Jaguars tough in Week 1, beat the Texans on the road in Week 2, beat the Ravens on the road in Week 3 in overtime, lost to the Rams in overtime in Week 4, and beat the Titans in Week 5, all while having to alter their game plan in 2 of those games due to the early departure of Richardson, who also left Week 1, but that departure happened just before the 2-minute warning in the second half, and starting their backup quarterback in another. They now prepare to face the Jaguars for the second time this season with their backup quarterback, with the winner of this game left alone atop the AFC South through a third of the season. When we get later in the season, we often talk about the additional magnitude of the games with playoff implications on the line. This game carries about as many playoff implications as you will find in Week 6 of an NFL season, and should be viewed as a relative must-win for both sides. Shane Steichen has largely approached games by attempting to win in the trenches, but has also largely been unable to fully unleash his offensive designs while dealing with a rookie quarterback and so many moving pieces from which to build around through the first 5 weeks. These next 4 weeks should be rather telling from an organizational standpoint, as they should hopefully give Steichen some stability to plan and manage around. In these 2 teams' first meeting, Colts quarterbacks attempted 39 passes compared to 16 running back carries and 10 totes from Richardson. In the Colts' Week 3 win over the Ravens, a similar setup defensively, pass funnel, and elevated zone rates, Gardner Minshew attempted 44 passes to 35 running back carries and did not see a rush attempt himself. Small sample size alert, but we should expect a baseline of 36 to 40 pass attempts for Minshew in this spot. The matchup tilts to the air with the Jaguars defense allowing just 3.7 yards per carry, ranked 10th, but allowing 6.9 yards per pass attempt, ranked 28th. Let's make this very clear up front. We have no clue what the running back opportunity split is going to look like between Taylor and Moss this week. What we know is that Taylor's Week 5 game action was his first game snap since Week 14 of the 2022 season, and we have indication from Steichen that the team intends to gradually ramp up his involvement, with the only time frame given being a month. Now those are just words, but we also saw them hold Taylor to just 10 offensive snaps in Week 5. Side note, the outrage from the fantasy community over this made me chuckle, as Steichen literally told us this was likely to be the case, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's fair to say Moss is unlikely to garner an 80% snap rate or 78% opportunity share here, 28 carries and 2 targets compared to 6 carries and 1 target for Taylor, but the actual split is completely up in the air at this point for Week 6. The matchup on the ground is non-ideal against the Jaguars defense facing the 4th fewest rush attempts per game, 22, behind just San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Detroit, so the snap rate split might not matter here. Minshew does not bring the same profile to the table as the departing Richardson, the former much more pocket passer and timing quarterback than the latter. On Minshew's 83 pass attempts this season, Michael Pittman has garnered a target share of 28.9%, while rookie Josh Downs checks in at 24.1%. From a fantasy perspective, it's the same story for both of these guys. Modest ADOT, 7.3 for Pittman and 6.3 for Downs, and modest yards per route run values, 1.58 for Pittman and 1.22 for Downs. Means a lot has to go right for either of them to return a viable GPP score. Alec Pierce remains the Z-type downfield threat safety manipulator of this offense with a robust 17.7 ADOT, but he's been utilized in full-on MVS fashion this season with a putrid 9.5% targets per route run rate. That latter figure ranks 100th in the league. There are 32 NFL teams, each with 3 primary wide receivers, meaning there are wide receiver 4s with a higher targets per route run rate than Pierce this season. That is something that could theoretically change in an instant, considering this offense appears to have been simplified by Steichen to make things as easy as possible on his rookie quarterback, but those are not great numbers, friends. Finally, the Jaguars have faced 36.2 pass attempts per game this season, the 11th most, largely by filtering the opposition to the air via a stout run defense, as opposed to consistently putting teams in negative game environments and forcing them to play in catch-up mode. How Jacksonville will try to win. The Jaguars rank near the middle of the league in pace, 15th ranked 28.4 seconds per play, but ranked 9th in PROE, averaging the third most plays per game, 69.6, ninth most pass attempts per game, 36.6, and a surprising, at least to me, 30.4 rush attempts per game. As such, we should primarily be viewing this offense as one of the more balanced units in the league instead of simply seeing that they rank top 10 in PROE and assuming they want to lean into the pass relentlessly. The other primary data point we have on this team through 5 weeks is a 20th ranked 21.0 points per game scored, which has left the Jaguars as a case of haves and have-nots. To paint that picture another way, the Jaguars have scored more than 3 touchdowns in a game just once this season through 5 games played, largely leveraging a defense that is allowing under 21 points per game to grind out wins when able. They've also had all 5 primary skill position players, Travis Etienne, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram, on the field together for just one full game to this point in the season due to injury issues with Jones. That makes their elevated 12 personnel rates, between 30 and 60% in every game this season, more understandable, although it does appear it could be by design, 59% 12 personnel rate in their Week 1 convincing win over the same Colts team. ETN holds truly elite marks for top-level metrics with a 79.6% snap rate, good for 5th, 77.3% opportunity share, ranked 8th, 71.2% route participation rate, ranked 5th, 95 carries, 2nd, and 21 targets, also 8th. But he's struggled with his underlying metrics thus far. His 3.7 true yards per carry ranks 41st in the league. His 4.8 yards per touch ranks 21st, and he has seen just 5 red zone touches through 5 games, ranks 39th. Woof. And he holds a minuscule 2.9% breakaway run rate, which puts him 37th. Taken in the context of his carries coming behind an offensive line blocking to 1.5 yards before contact, ranked 10th, these numbers appear even worse. Either way, volume is king at the position, and ETN continues to carry elite volume on a weekly basis. The matchup is far from ideal on paper against a Colts defense allowing just 3.8 yards per carry this season. The biggest struggle of the Indianapolis run defense this season has been keeping backs out of the end zone, having allowed 7 rushing scores through 5 games, which is tied for 5th most. But there's something to be said about ETN's modest red zone involvement to this point in the season. Although not overly involved in the offense, backup running back Tank Bigsby has seen 3 red zone opportunities to ETN's 5, on 5 times fewer snaps, for an offense that tilts towards the air in the red zone. In other words, Bigsby appears to still be the goal line back after converting 2 of his 3 red zone opportunities into 1-yard scores, while ETN has just 1 touchdown from inside the red zone on 5 opportunities, with 3 of his rushing scores coming on long runs. This pass offense could change drastically depending on the status of Jones, who missed 2 games, weeks 3 and 4, with a knee injury before leaving week 5 with another knee injury. He did not practice on Wednesday and appears to be on the wrong side of questionable to suit up against the Colts. In his absence, the leftover snaps were divvied up amongst Tim Jones, Jamal Agnew, who missed week 4, and Jacob Harris. The macro perspective is that pass volume should only constrict if Jones misses week 6, and the Colts have been highly susceptible to perimeter wide receivers that are capable of exploiting zone coverages, particularly cover 3, which the Colts play at one of the highest rates in the league. Ridley holds a solid 25.3% targets per route run rate against cover 3 this season, compared to just 16.2% for Christian Kirk and 25.3% for tight end Evan Ingram, ranking 5th in the league in total receiving yards against that primary coverage through 5 weeks. The micro matchup screams Ridley and Ingram, while the field is likely going to be highly interested in the cheaper Kirk after the latter logged 40 targets over the previous 4 weeks, 25 for Ridley and 32 for Ingram in that span, exactly 8 in each game. Finally, Ridley averages an absurd 4.64 yards per route run against cover 3 this season. Likeliest game flow. Both of these teams have elite game planners for head coaches, with Steichen much more capable of altering course during the game than his counterpart in Jacksonville, Doug Peterson. We've talked about the static nature of Peterson's offensive design already this season. To reiterate, he has shown an elite ability to game plan for an opponent to start games. The only game they've lost by more than one possession involved a kickoff return touchdown after they pulled within 7 points in the second half, but has been slow to adjust to in-game happenstances during the previous 2 seasons while coaching the Jaguars. That's an important discussion to be had here because this game is likeliest to play to a tightly contested contest between 2 divisional opponents that are fighting for the top spot in the AFC South. Yes, it's week 6, but this is the final time these 2 teams will play this season. The Colts lost the first time around, but have the better divisional and conference record, and the Colts have a far different team dynamic than when these 2 teams first played. Rookie quarterback in his first NFL appearance and without their franchise running back. Both teams are likely to begin the game attempting to win in the trenches, with the Colts the team more likely to open things up through the air. As such, it's actually the moderate pace and balanced nature of the Jaguars that is likeliest to drive this game environment, held relatively in check via the unwillingness of Peterson to alter his game plan during games.